looks like you have separated the group into two groups.
Well, that's an inevitability, throughout the course of the camp. These are always difficult decisions. As we said to the players, just because we made these decisions today doesn't mean they're etched in stone. There's going to be some guys that are going to continue to get opportunities to play in some exhibition games, and we'll watch the rest of the camp evolve and ultimately try to make the best decisions for our respective players, but also our team. And this is just part of the process.
We talked about some of the forward competitions in camp. I feel like maybe not as much on the defensive pairs. We've seen a lot of Fox and Gavrikov, but behind those guys, I mean, is that kind of still a work in progress? Like, how do you view some of the guys you have back there and what some of the pairings might look like?
Yeah, so we obviously we have a little bit of a game plan on what we think the pairs might look like. I think you never really know until you see it on the ice and you see it evolve a little bit. We'll probably explore different options. Schneid's hasn't been in the game yet. I would anticipate him getting in games here soon. And so when he gets into the mix, that will change it a little bit. And so we're just trying to explore different combinations, see what we get. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he played quite a bit with Urho last year, and I know Gordon and Susie have some history together from Seattle. At least early in the season, would you maybe lean toward guys that have a little more familiarity? Is that something that's kind of an easier way to start and then you can adjust as you go, or does that not really matter to you as much?
I wouldn't say it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, if there's chemistry amongst groups, we try to, we try to take advantage of that. And then the other aspect of it is we've got to make decisions with lefty-righty combinations, or do we go righty-righty combinations? Schneid's, for example, is obviously an important player for us. Really solid defenseman, emerging young guy. We're hoping we can get his game to another level, and we know he's going to play important minutes for us. Is that on the right side? Is that on the left side? It all depends on, what we explore here moving forward, and what we see, and the types of combinations that potentially we could put together that will give us balance, but also, from a matchup standpoint, give us an opportunity to put pairs together that we think help us in that capacity also. So, I think, our intention is to explore some options and just watch and see what we have, and then try to make decisions accordingly.
He is coming off a surgery and was in the red jersey for the first week or so of camp.
You're talking about Schneid's? Yes.
How has he looked? Since even with the red jersey, once he took the red jersey off, how's he looked?
I think he's looked great in the practices. Obviously we're anxious. We're excited to get him into game situations, but I think he's looked great in practice. He looks strong. He's assertive. He's in good shape. He's skating well. I'm really excited to watch him in game real action, but we've really liked what we've seen in practice so far.
In regards to JT, he went through a lot last year. It was well documented. It was public. They didn't want it to be. It was. I'm curious, any conversations with him about it, number one, but how do you think he can learn from that to be a better leader?
Yes, I have had conversations with him about it, and obviously when Chris and I both talked to him about leadership and being the captain of the team, that was part of the conversation. I think JT has really matured over the course of his career, and when you go through challenges like that, I think that's when people learn the most. And I think JT has really taken a great approach to his his career, and both on the ice and off the ice, on the type of teammate that he is. I think sometimes those guys tend to be misunderstood. He's a fierce competitor. He tends to wear his emotions right on his sleeve. His intentions are in the right place. He wants to win in the worst way, and we love that about him. And we don't want that aspect of his personality to change. We want him to be himself. And I think he's a guy that, he evaluates himself and wants to become a better version of himself, both on the ice and off the ice, and that's part of it. And so, him and I have had a few conversations around it. I'm certainly very comfortable with where he's at. He's a great kid. He really cares about the Rangers. He's totally invested in trying to help this team win, and I'm excited to watch him evolve with our group here as the captain.
How unique is that for you, having known him when he was first here and now seeing what the player he's making now?
Yeah, I remember when my first experience with JT was, and this is going way back, was at I was a volunteer coach in Lake Placid at one of the World Junior camps that the U.S. had, and the way those camps worked back then was the U.S. had two teams, and they would put some of the World Junior coaches with them, and they would put a pro coach with each team, and JT was on our team. And so that was my first experience of coaching JT. He probably doesn't remember it, but I remember it vividly. We were playing, I think it was Finland in the first exhibition game, and I was running the forwards in the game, and Scotty Sandelin, I think, was the head coach at the time, and he was running the defense. And the first couple of shifts, JT got all fired up, and he was, he's getting after the referee. And the next shift, he comes in and he was getting after the linesman. And the third shift, he was getting after another one of the linesmen or something. And he came back to the bench. He was sitting right in front of me, and I said, "Hey," when he turns around, he looks like this. I said, "Do me a favor. How about you just be quiet and play hockey? Let the refs ref. You play hockey." That was my first experience with JT. But he's, I think it was a foreshadowing of the type of personality that he is. He's just a fierce competitor. And, and I've coached a number of those guys over the years. And, and I think part of the DNA of those types of players is that they tend to be emotional because they're invested. And I think that's JT in a nutshell.
Is the coach-captain relationship for you vastly different than it was with Sid? Because Sid really runs a room with Sid, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's different. I think, I really value that relationship with the captain. I think the captain, his relationship with the head coach is really important. At least that's how I feel. That's how it was when Sid was the captain and I was the coach in Pittsburgh. And obviously was there a long time. We developed when you spend that much time together, you develop a relationship, right? But I think it's one of the more rewarding things from a coaching standpoint to have the ability to build a relationship with a player of that stature that is elite at what he does, but also incredibly invested in the organization. And I feel the same way about JT. I really look forward to the opportunity to get to know him better, and him to get to know me better. And I look forward to that opportunity to work together to try to help this team be at its best.
Do you envision trying to get Panarin into one of these preseason games, or do you want to be cautious about his injury?
A little bit of both. In a perfect world, we'd like to get him into a game or two, but a lot of it's going to depend on his, where he is. I mean, certainly we'll err on the side of caution there.
If I could ask you just a quick question.
Sure.
Something special happening in your former place you used to work. Marc-André Fleury's back in Pittsburgh right now, and he's going to get in the preseason game. Your focus is here, so don't get me wrong on that. But you know him well, you know the whole thing, you know the story well. What's special about that for that guy to get an opportunity like this, and the fans there to see it?
Oh, I think it's incredible. I think it would be great for the city of Pittsburgh. I think it will be great for the Pittsburgh Penguins. In particular, it will be great for Flower. He's so deserving of it. And it will be great for the core players that were his teammates, you know, Sid and Gino and Tanger in particular, those three. You know, those guys grew up together. I know how close they are off the ice and what they accomplished on the ice together. I think, you know, when you win a Stanley Cup with it, you know, together, those relationships last a lifetime. And I think, you know, I think it's great for the Penguins to do that for Flower. I just think it's a great story. You know, he just represents, you know, everything that makes us proud to be associated with the game. He's a great person. He's another fierce competitor, and he loves hockey. You know, I don't think you play as long as Flower did and played in as many games as he has if you don't love the game. And his energy is so contagious. You know, with how he comes to the rink every day. He's just he's a real passionate guy. He's a fun guy. He's a practical jokester that's well chronicled, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of that'll go on when he goes back. You know, I'm sure somebody's pants will be hanging from the jumbotron or something during practice. Like, you know, his practical jokes are well chronicled, but it couldn't happen to a better person. He's a terrific person and a terrific player as well.
Were you ever on the receiving end of one of those pranks?
I was not, but
He spared you?
but I've seen a few.
He was, his son was playing pranks on him.
Really? Oh, I believe it. I believe he's.
Soft in his pads.
Yeah, he's had some good ones, and you know, I'm sure there'll be some when he goes back.